All right, I have to give you guys a warning right now. Storytelling it's an art form. It started with cavemen, right? Before there was actual words, grunting and pantomiming, and in front of the fire, there's, Grog telling the story about how he hunted the woolly mammoth and whatever. Storytelling is an art form that goes way back. With that art form, there comes a great responsibility. With great power comes great responsibility, right? Stephen Covey, going back to Stephen Covey, he tells a story about how he ran into a man on the subway one time. And this man obviously had a couple of kids with him. And he knew that these kids were his kids because they'd come back to him and they were kind of sitting by him, but they were all over the place. These kids were all over the subway, jumping around, screaming, yelling, and the man was just zoned out. He was the worst father. I mean, just the absolute worst. Totally ignoring his kids, not even thinking about them, not even caring that they were climbing on other passengers, yelling and screaming. And Stephen Covey is looking around and all these people are like, who is this guy? He needs to rein his kids in. Finally, Stephen Covey reached over and he said, excuse me, your kids are kind of a little wild. Maybe you should do something about it. And the guy kind of shook out of it and he said, man, I'm sorry. They just lost their mom and we just came from her funeral. So they're a little crazy. And Stephen Covey talks about the paradigm shift that he went through right there. I remember reading about this in his book, and this was the first time that I heard the phrase paradigm shift. But what you can do as a storyteller is cause a paradigm shift in your audience. Now, that is a tremendous power, but you want to use that power responsibly. The stories that I've told you today, with the exception of the bread story, have all been true. You have the ability to move people to take action with storytelling. Use that ability responsibly. Don't lie. Try not to embellish in an irresponsible way. Use that power in an ethical and proper manner that's going to connect people to you, because once you start to lie and create stories that aren't real, I mean, you're pulling a Brett Favre or, one of those guys where they tell a story and then comes out later that it wasn't actually true. And then their careers just tank. So be careful. Make sure that you're telling your stories responsibly. Don't make them up, because honestly, you don't need to. You have so much awesome experience in your life that you can mine that and create a story well that's just going to keep on giving you forever. Don't worry about making stuff up. Don't worry about over embellishing the facts. Just tell your stories with the details, with emotion, and people will love you for it. They'll congregate around you, they'll follow you, they'll be loyal to you, they'll buy from you. That's the power of storytelling.